What's going on, everyone? So, moving closer and closer to training camp as well as the NBA season, kind of going through all my player evaluations and breakdowns and stuff. And I want to do some kind of bold predictions, bold takes, bold talks. And one of the ones that I want to talk about is involving Luka Doncic. I want to kind of do a Luka bold take. So, one, the easy one, I think, and I don't really think this is a bold take, but I think Luka Doncic is going to be the best player in the league. I've talked about this briefly in other videos and stuff. Did it in my Luka breakdown. If you want my Luka breakdown, go check out that video after this video, of course. But I do think Luka is going to have an MVP level season. I think as long as he plays 65 games, the MVP is his to lose. I think even if the Lakers are like the 4th seed or something like that, just because of how tight the Western Conference is, I think they'll do that. I think the media is looking for every excuse to give Luka Doncic the MVP. I think, the narrative and conversation and what that would do for the media and stuff like that, because now, I think Dallas is going to have a long season, right? Even if Dallas is really good this year, I still think it's going to be a long season for them, because I just think Luka is going to be so good this season that it's going to create that narrative and conversation of oh my God, look at what Dallas did. And I think everybody wants Luka Doncic to win the MVP. And I think if they have a chance to not only give Luka the MVP for the media and the hot takes and all that stuff, also the opportunity to give a Laker the MVP, so that way they can have that narrative and conversation and all that stuff. I think that they will, personally, right? Again, could be completely wrong, but I don't, like I said, I don't really think that that's a hot take. I think Luka's going to be ridiculous. I think Luka Doncic is going to be I think he's going to be the clear-cut best player in the world. I think he is motivated. I think he is hungry. If he is anything close to the guy we saw in Eurobasket, which I think all of us can agree he's more than capable of being. We have seen that guy in the NBA. I think the Lakers are going to be the best team in basketball. So the hot take, right? The one that, again, I wouldn't really bet on it type thing, but I do think it's very possible. I think Luka Doncic is going to lead, or potentially lead, the Lakers to the 1 seed in the Western Conference. Now, again, this is the hot take. A more conservative, realistic take, I think you're looking at like I've said it before, the 3 to 5 range. Lakers could be better this year and actually win more games this year and still end up the 4th or the 5th seed based on tiebreakers and everything else, right? The West is so incredibly tight that the difference between the 5 seed or 4 seed, 3 seed and the 8th seed was a game and a half if you count tiebreakers, right? So, but I think Luka Doncic is going to be good enough. I think he plays the 65 plus games. I think he's going to be the best player in the world. I think LeBron James is going to be the second best player in the league, best second option. There we go. Best second option in the league. And I think if they can kind of, keep health and things together, obviously that's a big factor. I think we're going to look at this team and they're going to be one of the top 3 teams in all of basketball. Now, just because they look super great during the regular season doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate to the NBA. Last year, Lakers were the 3 seed, right? They were on a tear going in, and you saw how that ended up in dominant fashion. But I think OKC is going to regress slightly. Right? Not because they're going to be worse or anything like that. It's just, it's the year after the championship. They're going to have a bigger target on their back, all that stuff. Right? I think Houston, I'm not still super sold on Houston. And we were right there with Houston. And I don't know how much better Kevin Durant makes Houston. It's very possible that he makes them significantly better. We'll see. Time will tell. But I also, Kevin Durant hasn't been a model of health the last few years and stuff like that. Houston's is, though, if I'm being honest, probably the one team that I think may be ahead of us if it were to happen, just because the 2 things. One, I don't think the Lakers will prioritize seeding, right? So, if we get to, say, the end of the season and we have a top 3 seed locked up, right? And it's okay, we have 5 games left. If we win 4 out of those 5, we're guaranteed the 1 seed. But as long as we win 2 out of those 5, we're a top 3 seed. I think the Lakers will prioritize rest, try to go get those 2 wins and then kind of sit guys and rest guys. Keep LeBron healthy, keep Luka, guys like that healthy going into the playoffs. the other thing is too is just Houston's just very young, athletic, right? So the sustainability over an 82 game season, I think, has its hurdles, has its challenges for the Lakers, right? Like their ability to be consistent and keep the pace game after game after game after game, I just think is better for them. But again, don't sleep on the Lakers. I think the Lakers will be the best offense in all of basketball. To me, it really boils down to, can the Lakers be good enough defensively to where they're like, a top 12-ish defense? If they can be like a top 12-ish defense, then I think the Lakers have a real shot at being the 1 seed. Because I think that they will be clear-cut best offense in basketball. And I think that they'll have a pretty good, gap on that. But I think that the defensive side of the ball will kind of dictate if they're able to overtake the 1 seed in the Western Conference. I just think Luka Doncic, again, is going to be on a tear. I think the Lakers I think he's going to want to win every game. I think every game is going to be important to them. I think DeAndre Ayton's going to be really good for them. I think LeBron James, as I mentioned, is going to be really good for them. I think you have a lot of key components that could really kind of play to the Lakers' favor. To me, it's just health, right? And then the defensive sustainability. Obviously, if they're the defense we saw, that 25 game stretch, then for sure the Lakers will be the 1 seed. But going under the assumption that's not going to happen for a full season, like I said, if they can kind of be middle of the pack defensively, then I think that they'll be there, right? Because like Lakers were basically that last season. I think they'll be much better offensively. I think they'll have an identity. I think they'll know what they want to do. I think defensively, they'll have their identity on both sides of the basketball. I think this team is deeper. I think this team has better defensive versatility. I think, obviously, they solved the center issue. I think Luka Doncic gives you a lot of things that Anthony Davis doesn't give you. And the Lakers, again, were the 3 seed last year through 5 different iterations of this team and, inconsistencies and all that other stuff. First year head coach, all of that. I think JJ Redick's going to be better this year. I think Luka Doncic, his ability to be the offensive engine that he is, I think is going to bode really well. Also, during the regular season, it's easier to outscore teams and win games than it is in the playoffs. Right, you need to have some decent balance unless you're just, like Denver was kind of the outlier a few years ago where they were like the second worst defense in all of the playoffs. But they were just so good offensively and such a well-oiled machine, it didn't matter. Right, it was just like, like good luck beating us type thing. So to me, I think Luka Doncic, I think you'll get better consistency from Luka than Anthony Davis, where as much as I love Anthony Davis, be a little hot and cold at times. A lot of questions about, like, LeBron James had to put on the cape a lot more than I think he will with Luka Doncic. I think Luka Doncic's night in and night out ability and consistency will just be better than what we saw with Anthony Davis. I also think his ceiling is higher than Anthony Davis's. And because he's the guy that has the ball in his hands. He's the guy that can control games, control pace, right? Like, he's the guy that can dictate more than Anthony Davis can. Anthony Davis, we see him control games, but it's more on the defense side of the ball and packing the paint. But we saw teams were just like, hey, let's just jack up more threes and kind of neutralize Anthony Davis a little bit on the defense side. Right? Luka Doncic, he's always, or not always, but most of the time, is going to have the basketball in his hands. So most of the time, he's going to be the guy that is going to make the decisions, make the plays, feed guys. I think LeBron James potentially could have the most efficient season of his career, or one of the most efficient seasons of his career, because he's finally going to have a guy that can handle all of the pressure, all of the ball duties, so on and so forth, right? To where LeBron's going to be able to play off of that, right? So the quality of looks, right? Like, when has there ever been a time where LeBron James has played alongside somebody that's as good, if not better? It doesn't happen. Even Anthony Davis, LeBron James kept preaching, Anthony Davis, this is Anthony Davis team. Anthony Davis is the best player. But we all saw the games. LeBron James was still the best player. As much as I love Anthony Davis, LeBron James was the best player, right? So now LeBron James is going to definitively be the second best player. He is going to have a guy that is not just going to be able to be the best player on the team, but is able to be, one of the best player in the league Right? I just think that that's just very different than Anthony Davis. And I just think that Luka Doncic is going to be able to take the pressures off of LeBron James. So LeBron James is going to be able to play more on ball. He's not going to have to work as hard, right? There will be nights, there will be moments where it's like, hey, Bron, we need you to put the cape on for us one more time. Give me the rock. All right, I got us, right? Type thing. There will be those games, there will be those moments, where, Luka has foul trouble, or, Luka, gets the night off, or, whatever. Like, it's just Luka's having a bad night. He just can't find the bottom of the bucket. I don't care how good of a player you are. Everyone has bad nights. Also, the difference between like Anthony Davis, we saw have bad nights and it's like 11 points or like 9 points or whatever. It's just like, dude, like a bad night for Luka, he's still giving you, a 20 piece. And he's still giving you, incredible feats. And he's still controlling and dictating and dominating a game on so many facets, so many levels. So I really do think, again, the bold take would be that I think Luka Doncic leads this Lakers team to the 1 seed in the Western Conference. I wouldn't even be surprised if they're the 1 seed overall. I just think, the East is like weak this year. So I think a team like Cleveland and stuff like that probably is the number 1 seed overall. OKC, like I said, I think will regress slightly. They could still be the 1 seed and regress because they just had such a huge lead on those guys. But I do think that there will be a little bit of a step back just naturally. I don't think that they will feel like they have as much to prove. So I think they'll prioritize health and things like that because they'll want to repeat, be the first team to repeat since the Warriors and all that stuff. So there's a lot of things that'll go into that. Houston, I think, is young enough to where they'll want that. But I also think Kevin Durant, they're going to want to preserve KD and stuff. And how do they look without KD is the question because their issues were scoring the basketball last season. So I do have some questions with those teams. I think the Lakers are still potentially ahead of the other teams. I know people look at like the Clippers and some of these. There's not a team that I look at that got like significantly better or significantly more better than the Lakers. I think people are sleeping on and undervaluing what this version of Luka Doncic is going to do for this team on top of like, oh yeah, by the way, now we have a real center. And oh yeah, by the way, now we have more depth. And oh yeah, by the way, we're going to have a coach that's going to be better. And oh yeah, by the way, LeBron James for the first time in his career is going to get to be the number 2 option and be able and be the healthiest and most efficient and just kind of be able to ride the wave of Luka Doncic over this season and so on and so forth. I just think there's a lot of factors that people aren't really like looking at. I think people are looking at this through a keyhole rather than taking a step back, looking at the full picture of this Lakers team. And I that's kind of my bold take, right? A more conservative, realistic take is probably, like I mentioned, 3 to 5 range. But I think don't be shocked if they're the 1 seed. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. As always, this is a discussion, so I want to hear from you. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. Lets me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.